Okay. Hello, everybody. Ready to paint along with me? We're going to do one more of these before Christmas. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. So Merry Christmas to everyone. We're going to do these Christmas balls together. If you haven't painted with me before, my name is Sarah Giese. I'm an artist, and this is my studio. Excuse the mess, but this is where I work. Sometimes it takes making a mess to get something done, you know. So this is my place. Today we're going to paint these Christmas balls. If you can gather all of your things, you'll need watercolor paper, you'll need the template, or you can just eyeball this one. It's really easy. You'll need watercolor paints, and you'll need some brushes. I'm also going to use a white paint pen. It's not necessary to have though. If you have it, great. So let's get painting right away today. We've had a little technical difficulties getting started here, so excuse our little bit lateness, but I think we got it going. So if we look at the painting today, it's a lot of cool colors. So in any art class, you're going to learn about warm and cool colors. Cool colors are the half of the rainbow that starts with green and goes to indigo violet. Okay, a lot of Christmas stuff is red and green, of course. So that's red is warm and green is cool. So they kind of complement each other. These are mostly cool colors, blues, purples, greens, and then I'm using some yellow to just kind of highlight and complement those cool colors, okay? I'm sure if you've taken an art class, you've learned about the color wheel, all of that. It's very interesting. It's fun to think about when you're painting, finding colors that are gonna kind of complement each other. But we're not doing a class today. We're just relaxing and having fun making something. So we're not going there. If you have paints like this, it's great. If you have paints like mine, that's great. If you have liquid paints, there's a liquid watercolor. That's great too. We'll use blues and purples and greens, some pinks and some yellow. So really basically the whole rainbow. And this one is going to be very easy to just modify to your liking. You don't have to do what I did. You can make it all different colors. So feel free to do that. I'm going to show you what I did. You can do the colors you want. Okay. So I think that these look a little bit like the galaxy is on some of these Christmas balls, which I think is cool. You can see that we're going to use a lot of water. We're going to use the techniques that we've been learning about putting water on the paper and letting the paint flow where it will. Really, it's a fun exercise to let that happen, right? Sometimes, though, there's an art to putting it down in a way that looks good. Sometimes the technique of letting it flow around can turn into mixing it all together and turning it into mud. So we're going to try to not do that. We want to have a little bit of restraint so that these colors don't totally mix together. We'll get there. We're going to talk about it as we go. So let's start with this one right in the middle here. I'm going to use this blue color and a purple and maybe a little green up in the top. So let's move on to that. Oh, I did use some gold paint for these hooks and strings. You can just use black. You could use whatever you have. If you have a gold paint or a gold pen or silver or black, whatever you want. So this middle one, I'm going to put water all over first, because we want to let that paint flow around. So when you put water on paper, you still want to stay in the lines because the water the properties of water are such that they want to stay together, right? Water molecules are attracted to other water molecules and they just flow together, right? So outlining along the edge with the water and then filling it in will, when you put the paint in, the paint will disperse into the water, but it won't go out into the dry. It will want to stay with the water. So just kind of follow the lines and put some water down on a wet brush on a dry paint, on a dry paper. Okay, now that we have it wet, I'm going to go in. I have a favorite blue color. Blue is my favorite color anyway, but this is my favorite one. I'm going to start in and I'm going to have it be dark. See how pretty that is? It's got a lot of green in it and it's just so pretty. So I'm just going to let that flow in here. I'm going to keep the sharp edges so that it still looks like a ball, a Christmas ball, but I'm going to let this flow around. Like I said, it really is just kind of up to you. What you like, how it looks to you is how it's going to look. Okay, so I've got some darker blues going on and I'm going to let just water, I'm going to take a dry brush and just move that blue out so that it's lighter on the edges, like that. Okay, I'm going to start at the top here and put a little bit of green in there, maybe like a turquoise. Like I said, this is not a very instruction intensive one, painting. This is more like let it flow around and see how you like it. Okay, so just feel free at this point to just let it go. You just don't want to have it so flowy that it flows all together and is one color. That's all really the whole point of this one is. Okay, I'm going to put some purple in there. And watercolors always lighten as they dry, so we can go back in and brighten them up a little bit as we will. And I'm going to let their edges kind of connect, kind of mix together. But really, that's all I'm going to do. Maybe I'll have a different purple in there too, a little bit darker purple. It's kind of like tie-dye, isn't it? It's a little bit tie-dye-like. And obviously, because this is so flowy, one painting from the next is going to look totally different. And that's good. That's the way it should be. My water's getting out of the lines there a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to let that sit for a little bit, see what happens as it dries, and then I might go in and put some more bright colors in, and then I'm going to add yellow too. I'm going to do a similar thing in this one here. Okay, so clean my brush off and then get some water going on it. This one's going to be a quick one. We're just going to let them flow around. Yesterday's was very detailed. This one isn't so detailed. Some days you just need it like something easy. And sometimes the more simple things aren't the easy things. I don't know if you've found that to be true in your life. Sometimes the simpler it is, the harder it is. Okay, I'm going to go in with purple up here. Drop it in. Let this all be purple. Oops, going on the lens. I'll let it come down in here. Well, hopefully everybody is ready for Christmas. It's a different one this year for sure. We're figuring out how to, we watch White Christmas with my family every year. And with my mom, because it was, growing up, it was just my sister and my mom and my dad. So it was mostly girls. And we watched White Christmas. I know every song and every word by heart. And actually, we always say that it's required that we sing along. Like everyone, even the guys have to sing along. But, you know, so we're not getting together this year, so we're figuring out how to do a watch party. So it'll be fun. At least we'll be watching it at the same time together. We can be on Zoom or something. It's kind of fun. Necessity is the author of invention. Is that the quote? All right. Now I'm going to put a little bit more blue in these areas here. You know, like I said, you could be doing reds and oranges. You could just change up the color as much as you'd like. I'm just going in, flowing these cool colors around. I'm usually partial to blue. It's my favorite. So I kind of like this one. But I did wear my red shirt for Christmas. I'm going to try to be festive, even though it's hot and humid here today in San Antonio, where I grew up. In Minnesota, it's snowing and blizzardy, and they're hunkering down. So, whole new world. All right. I haven't lived there for like 20 years, so shouldn't actually sound like I have. All right, there we go. I'm going to put some yellow in now, even though my brush, I'm going to move over here and have another blue one, but while this is wet here, I still want I want some of the yellow to blend, and I don't want it to dry. So I'm going to go in and put some yellow in here, just barely on the sides here, let it blend around. If it's not blending well, ooh, that's not very pretty color. If it's not blending well, just add water, and don't be afraid to leave some white spaces. Okay, something like that. Okay, let's move to this top one up here, this one. This one's the only one that's a little bit different. If you see, I did circles. Okay, I did green, yellow, and pink circles, and you know, with varying amounts of water. So, and then I tried to overlap them so that they look see-through. Really, it's very random how I did it. I did most of the red or pink ones up here and the green down here, or yellow all around. We'll just start in and start making circles, okay? And like I said, when we first start out, when we have a lot of paint on our brush, we can, you know, make these brighter circles. But if we don't put more paint on our brush, the next one will be lighter, the next one will be lighter. So it kind of naturally happens. So we'll just do that a few times, and we'll have to get more paint on our brush, and we'll do another bright one. Then we'll kind of let them get lighter and lighter, okay? I turned my paper around because I'm right-handed. If I lay my arm on that, it's gonna get all messy. So I'm gonna use, I'm using my number 4 brush. It's pretty, I might get a smaller one actually. I'm gonna go for my number 1. That way I'll have a little more control. And I'm going in here on this one. And I'm going to use a red or pinkish red color. Okay. I have a lot of paint on my brush and not a whole lot of water. So it's going to be the brighter color. Just making some circles. Continue. It's going to be lighter. See how that's lighter? It's going to continually get lighter. Just add some water if it starts getting scratchy. Don't forget to do some poking out of the side here. Yep, see how they've gotten lighter, lighter, lighter? Now it's time to go in with some more paint. So adding some paint in, randomly going in to make some circles. These could be any color you want. They could be all one color with variations of opaqueness. Is that the word? Opaque? These remind me of my grandpa Glevy. My maiden name is Glevy, and my grandpa's tree. He always had a real tree, and it was a big old, huge tree. Like they would get these huge ones. My cousins and on that side still do that. Big, huge trees. Anyway, and he had like those lights that had the little drippy, I don't know what those were. They had little lights that had a cone like this, and it would drip some liquid. Looked a little bit like a lava lamp, kind of. Anyway, and he had those fancy glass balls that kind of went into themselves, and they kind of shaped like that sometimes. Anyway, makes me think of his tree. Okay, so that's a lot of the pink ones. And I'm kind of starting to overlap a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go in with green, a kind of tealish green color. Try this color green. Activating. I have a lot of water on my brush there, so it's not very bright. Now, like we've said, green and red are complementary colors, but they're also opposite the color wheel, and if you blend them, they turn brown. So we're going to overlap them, but we don't want to blend them because it'll turn brown. So I'm going to let this overlap, see, but I'm not going to push that pink paint too far. If I keep rubbing around, it'll turn brown. So you just kind of randomly plop them in. I think I'm going to add maybe a little bit darker green. Yeah, that's the color. Ooh, I tried overlapping a circle that was still really wet. That didn't work so well. I have to go in there and fix that. We need to decorate Christmas cookies tonight. I think all the boys will be home tonight, so that'll be fun. A couple of them like it still. One of them has never really liked it. Not really been his thing. But it's Christmas. We do it together. It makes it good. Makes it fun. All right. Now I'm going to go in with some yellow. But before I do that, I'm going to let them dry a little bit. Like I said, here a couple places they were so wet and it blended too much. So I don't want that to happen. Let's move on to this guy here. Yeah. So this one I don't think is the coolest one. I love the shape. And it looks more like the galaxy, right? Dark down here. We got that dark purple color. Goes up into a warmer purple, up to almost pink. And then really this half of it is green teal color with some yellow mixed in to like bridge the gap between the cool and the warm pink. Okay, so we'll start down here with this dark midnight blue, and we'll go up, and as we do, we'll add in some warmer purples. Okay. All right. So this one is yet again a flowy one, so we're going to go in and I'm going to use my bigger brush, my number 4, and put water. So usually, I think I've said this before, but usually when we set up our Christmas trees, we watch Les Mis while we're doing that. I don't know when that started. The little guys didn't. Probably the last 5 or 6 years. Anyway, but this year I ended up doing the Christmas tree real quick because we were busy with a conference we were putting on. Oh, somebody's at the door. Anyway, so I did it real quick by myself, and when they came home, it was done, and we didn't watch Les Mis, and my 13-year-old is like, we have to watch Les Mis, Mom. It's Christmas, and we haven't done that yet. So this morning, we sorted his Legos, because he's got so many Legos, you know how that is. And he's been wanting me to sort them with him for a long time, and I just have been putting that off. So we did that this morning for a while and watched Les Mis. Oh my goodness, that movie. Whew. That story is such a beautiful story of redemption. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is more purple than I wanted it, so I'm going to go in with blue on top of that purple and be more midnight bluey. It's not the color I had earlier on the other one. I'm not sure which one I used. Trying to change them up too much here. So, we'll just do this. We'll just mix them. Ooh, I love when this happens, when there's water on the paper and you just let it flow into that water. And it's so happy. Starts going. Oh, I'm going along the edge here and allowing it to flow into the ball. Look at that. Look at it do it. So fun. Can you see it moving on its own? It's so cool. I like that. I'll go up around this edge as well. Anyway, got Les Mis on my mind. Just running around doing errands and just thinking about it. The power of forgiveness and redeeming. Oof. But he changed that man's life. All right, I'm going in here with a warmer purple, almost like a pink almost. Yeah, I might even use that fuchsia color. I still had purple on my brush, so yeah, that's good. Kind of blended into the fuchsia. That's a pretty color too. I have too many favorite colors, I think. I keep saying, oh, that's my favorite color. That's a pretty one though. Makes me want to put it over here. Maybe I'll do that. It's not as wet anymore though. Gotta be careful and add some water. Anyway, Les Mis is not a Christmas movie, but it is a movie about a man changing because of love. Love it. Okay, blending with the water. Okay, so at this point it's kind of half and half. Putting some water on the brush, pushing it over a little. So now I'm going to go in with some teal over here. And the trick is to you don't want to leave it like, a line, but you want to have a blend so that it kind of makes sense, So this is the little tricky part when you have a color and you want to kind of move it over. I'm going to put some yellow in there too, but if you want to kind of blend it, go back and forth over that line and see how it kind of blended the teal and the blue together. All right, before it dries, I am going to put the yellow in. But this little motion is going to be quick. I don't want to rub around too much because I don't want to make this turn brown. So just going to let it plop in there. See how it has the tendency to want to be kind of a muddy color, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just like tapping it in. Okay? And let that dry and see what happens. It might just do its own thing. We'll see. Let's move on to this bottom one, and then we'll have a first layer of all of them. We'll go in, well, we still need to put those yellows in there, but we'll go back in and add color if we want to, if there's more that needs to happen. Okay, so this bottom one, it's still very nondescript really, but to me, in my mind, I was thinking of a sky and kind of the ground and a little bush that's kind of on fire or kind of yellow. And I put some, with the white paint pen, I went in and put some branch looking things there. But I didn't make a line with a horizon line and make it very clear. It's very nondescript, but that's kind of the thought that I had when I was making this one. So blue sky and then some brown and green and yellow in there. Actually, the green is going to be the blue and yellow mixing, so we don't even need a green, but I'm going to go in with the blue first. And it's very flowy, so we're going to have water on the brush, a clean brush, not a purple water brush. Clean the brush first, and then we go in with water. You don't want to put water up in that little circle there even though we're going to paint it, that's a real detailed thing. You don't want it to be flowing around in there. You'll go in with a dry paper so that you can control that. Control that. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so going in with kind of a aqua color, dropping it in. Ooh, look at that cool stuff. I'm not going to touch it for a minute. I'm going to move over here. That is the coolest. Can you see how it just dropped right in and did that? Look at that. So cool. I'm going to let it be. I don't want to put too much. If you rub around too much, you do too many brush strokes, you're going to lose that cool starburst look. So just kind of plop it in and see what happens. Yeah. Okay. I want it to be a little bit light in the middle, so I cleaned my brush and I'm drying it, and I'm going in with a dry brush, wicking some of that water and paint up. See how it kind of lightens that up a little bit? So it's kind of like reverse paint. Yeah, makes a more interesting shape. White space. You just want to be careful about having white space. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of brown in the bottom here. So it's not very warm brown. It's just kind of a tan color. Just kind of going across in a nondescript way. I don't want it to be darker down here, but I'll have to go in with another layer after it dries a little bit. And while this is still generally wet, I'm going to add the yellow in so that blends. And up here it's going to turn a little bit green because yellow and blue make green. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Might go in later and make it more bright. Okay, so now we're at this point. These are drying. See, these are pretty dry. I think we can put the yellow dots in. So if you notice, I put yellow dots just overlapping a lot of the others. So I'm just going to do that with my smaller brush that I was using, number 1. And because we're going to overlap other paints, and we don't want to rub too much, just kind of let the paint sit on top. Because it still will wick up into the brush with the water on it. Paint will want to come up if we rub it too much. Just go crazy. Put them all over the place. This is kind of the colors that the last one that's going to bring it all together. Okay, something like that. cute. Okay, so you'll notice I have some in this middle one. We didn't put any yellow, so I wanted it to be bright, like you know, the Hubble Space Telescope shows us all kinds of beautiful things like this, right? I'm going to add some of these celestial, what would you call those? Well, I think they're like leftover stars, you know, that have blown out, that kind of thing. I'm just going to let that kind of go in there. Use some water so that it kind of blends in. Put some over here too. And then I want to add more blue to this bottom area so that it's nice and dark blue. When it was wet, it dispersed and really got light. But I don't want to lose some of that cool starburst look there, so I'm just gonna let it blend up into it. Like I said, this one is less instruction and more like stream of consciousness coming through my brain. This is what I'm thinking as I'm painting. Just do what's coming to you. Just want some more bright color in there. I want that brighter here too. And I'm going to use water and kind of blend it because it's quite dry now. Ooh, it's turning green with the yellow there. Okay. Just doing whatever. Okay. I'm going to add more here too. Ooh, it has some cool fun things there though. So I'm going to add some more purple into the top of this guy here. So now that it's dry, it's soaking up the paint a lot more. This is just a fun experiment in flowing and blending. Okay. This one's pretty dry. I'm going to go in and paint this little ring here and just add some more color, a second layer to some parts of it. See, now that it's dry, it's a lot easier to control, almost like a marker, yeah? But it doesn't have the cool flowy look as well. So you have more control, but you don't get the cool thing going on. So depending on what you need and what you want at certain places, use different techniques. And I'm going to make this tip darker as well. I used a different color brown. It's okay. My girlfriend just dropped off a pie. She's a realtor. She's the best at like making sure everybody's festive and taken care of. And she's really good at thank you notes. It's a lost art, I think. Okay, we have a lot of cool stuff going on here that I think I can just I feel okay about being done, except for putting the white paint pen on. So you feel free to just mess with it as much as you feel like you want. If you feel like you were done 10 minutes ago, I'm sorry. It's okay. We'll just work on other things. If you're not done yet, it's okay. Just pause it and work on it till you feel you're ready to be done. So the white paint pen is kind of an option. You can use any kind of white paint really in a brush, or you could use nothing and just leave it as is. I like to just put a little bit of detail in with the white paint pen sometimes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this. This is an acrylic white paint and a little pen. So let's think. How can we make some details here? I'm going to do some little polka dots on I'm going to go into the pink and green polka dots, the big polka dots, and put little white dots. Just kind of make it look like snowy little they kind of look like those little candies you put on cookies, you know. Oh, gumdrops. The cool thing about paint pens is this paint pen anyway, it starts out white, but as it soaks in, it takes on the color, bless you, takes on the color underneath it a little bit, so it turns a light pink or light green. Something like that. Okay. Now this one, these are all like galaxy ones, these three. So I'm just going to put some stars in. It's a little bit wet still, so they kind of blended out a little bit more than I wanted up there. Some bigger ones and some smaller ones. like that. This is a free flow painting. Okay, this one I'm going to kind of make little dots. Made me think of the what do they call when a star is dying, babe? It's like a supernova, where they kind of have these shapes of light. I'm just gonna put a little shiny spot there. Maybe over here too. Put some bigger ones and some smaller ones. Make a little structure, kind of follow the colors that flowed to make those shapes. Like that. This is wet, so it took on a little too much. Okay, so this one, like I said, I had a little idea of this was the sky and this was the ground here. So I'm just gonna use my paint pen and kind of make a craggly tree coming up from the ground. Just kind of do this. Branches. Some stars in the sky. You could draw really anything in here, in these. If you have a paint pen, you could draw a little snowman or something Christmassy. A little manger scene. Okay, this is what just came to me. This is kind of one of those paintings that there's not a lot of logic to it. It's just kind of stream of consciousness coming from. All right. Okay, this last one, I just had a few little stars coming out, so it looks galaxy-like. There you go. That's about it. I have a gold paint pen. I also, you could also use something like this, like a gold paint, or use your markers, and just kind of trace around these lines. Or if they're dark enough, the way they are with the printer, just leave it at that. A couple of them have, rings and things that you could color in. Those little caps that pull up out of your Christmas balls over here when you pull too hard out of the box. That happened to you? And I'm letting the lines go across, overlap, because it's how they're hanging. Okay. I used a little bit of the gold to just kind of go down into here and make details, but you know, do whatever you feel like. I think I've said that about 1,000,000 times during this video. It's really, truly, it's one of those kind of art projects. So I would love to see your expression, see how you made these. So post them if you'd like. I am happy to be painting with you the last couple days. And maybe we'll do a couple next week while we're all off. But Merry Christmas. And we're all happy that we have a new happy. What? I was muted? Okay, well, I was just saying Merry Christmas. And we hope that next year will be a better year. So, yeah, Merry Christmas. Peace and wholeness to your families.